Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Today on the channel I'll be doing my tips for round 11 of the 2024 NRL season. For people new to Rugby League, this week is Magic Round, where all the matches will be played at the same venue, and once again that venue will be Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Last week I got 7 out of 8 correct. The only tip I got wrong where I picked Melbourne to defeat Cronulla. But other than that, it was a fantastic week for the tipping for myself personally. But let's see how many I get correct in round 11 of the 2024 NRL season. And the first match to kick off this Magic Round, which starts on Friday, is between Canberra and Canterbury Bankstown. Now in recent times, Canberra have had a great record against Canterbury. They've won 9 of the last 10 meetings. At the moment, these two sides are quite close on the table, Canberra in 7th and Canterbury in 9th. Now with Canterbury, they come into this game having a hard fought loss against Penrith. As for Canberra, they come into this game off the bye. And if you watch Wobbling Jaw Sports, he always mentions that if a team's coming off the bye that they're a bit sluggish to start the game, a bit rusty. So we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out on Friday. For Canberra, they do have a few players out still, 5 in total from the top 30 squad. And in Canberra's last game before the bye, they had the comeback victory over Manly, but really Manly should have put that game to bed. Canberra had no right to win that game, I think. This game against Canterbury is going to be a tough ask for Canberra, I think, because this Canterbury team have shown that they're a bit different this year. Of course, they're not winning every week, but they're putting in a lot of tough performances, a lot of good performances. So this is going to be a really tight game to call, but I'm leaning more towards Canterbury Bankstown, so I'm going to tip them to win by 1 to 12 points to start off Magic Round on the Friday. And the second game on the Friday is between Manly-Warringah and Brisbane, a fixture which has happened a couple of times at Magic Round already. Now in the last 10 meetings between these two sides, Brisbane have won 7 of those, so they definitely have a good record over Manly in recent times. Now for the second week in a row, Manly had a lead against an opponent, and second week in a row they let that lead slip and they were chased down. As for Brisbane, they had a pretty routine win over Parramatta. I saw a couple of people online, Brisbane supporters, say that Brisbane weren't even really at their best, and yet they still won pretty comfortably in the end. With the injury news, massive blow for Manly. It's been confirmed that Tom Trbojevic will be out for an extended period, as well as Jason Saab. As for Brisbane, there was some injury concerns about Billy Walters. He may or may not play, and also Katoni Staggs might be suspended for this game after being placed on report for a dangerous high tackle against Parramatta. For this game, I'm going to go for Brisbane to win by 1 to 12 points. Brisbane have proven that even without some of their players in the squad at different times of this year so far, they still put in the performances and still win. And with Manly, their record when Trbojevic is not there is not very good. So I'm going to go for Brisbane to win this match by 1 to 12 points. I think that they should win quite comfortably. And the first match on Super Saturday is between the Gold Coast and Newcastle. Gold Coast in 16th and Newcastle in 10th. In the last 10 meetings between these two sides, there's been 5 wins each. However, Newcastle's won the last 3 in a row over the Gold Coast. With Newcastle, they had another narrow victory, this time over the West Tigers in Tamworth, the home of country music. And as for the Gold Coast, they had a very narrow victory over North Queensland. They played about 60 minutes there. They were in front 20 out, and then they just went to sleep, and North Queensland got 3 quick tries in succession, nearly stole the game actually. Now, like a few games this week, this is another really tough match. With Newcastle, they've won a few matches now. Some of them have been very narrow. As for the Gold Coast, they've had a lot of narrow losses, and now they've had a narrow win. So with the Gold Coast though, even though they won, the fact that they conceded 18 points in about 5 or 10 minutes was a bit concerning if you are a Gold Coast supporter. I also thought in some ways that they were lucky to win, because there was a bomb try to Valentine Holmes and they only won by 2 points. So if Valentine Holmes gets that try plus the other 3 tries, they end up losing another game by a narrow margin. From what I've seen, I'm leaning more towards Newcastle, and I have a feeling that Newcastle will win, so I'm going to go for Newcastle to win by 1 to 12 points on the Saturday. And the second match on Super Saturday, and I think game of the round, is Cronulla Sutherland against Sydney Roosters. Now, in recent times, Sydney Roosters have had a good record against Cronulla. They've won 8 of the last 10 matches against them. With Cronulla, they sit top of the table in first, East are in 5th. Cronulla have now won 6 matches in a row in the league, and this is their best start to a season since 1999. And also with East, they come into this game off some really good form. They've won their last 3 matches in a row in the league, and both teams had very good wins last round, so this is going to be a really high quality match, I think. Now with Cronulla, last week against Melbourne, they made a huge statement. They put their name down as one of the potential premiership contenders, and if they can get another victory over this good Sydney Roosters side, then that's going to magnify things even greater. I think a lot of people will find this match hard to tip which way it will go, but I'm going to go for the Sydney Roosters to win. I just have a feeling, just with their attacking options, the attacking threat, the players that they've got at their disposal, they're really hard to contain when they get on. So if they are in the mood, Sydney Roosters, I think that they can win this game. So I'm going to go for East to win by 112 points. And the third match on Super Saturday is between South Sydney and North Queensland. South Sydney bottom of the table and North Queensland in 12th. Now if you're a South Sydney supporter and you're watching this video, one thing that you could come into this match with a bit of confidence is in the last 10 meetings, South Sydney's won 7 of those. However, with these 2 clubs at the moment, they're both coming into this match having lost 5 matches in a row in the league. But with South Sydney, it's not looking good for them at the moment. They've got a massive injury toll, one of the biggest I've ever seen, and they were comfortably beaten by St George, a team who many predicted to come last this year. The match finished 28 points to 14, but I will point out that towards the end of the game, with about 2 minutes left, Latrell Mitchell scored a really fluke try. It was one of them pinball tries where the ball went everywhere, and it just happened to bounce to where he was running and managed to score. So it could have been an even bigger victory for St George in the end. As to North Queensland, I think they only played 20 minutes. 60 minutes in, they were 20-0 down, and they decided to wake up and scored 3 quick tries. But for the second week in a row, it was that man, Valentine Holmes. Against Redcliffe, he had a chance to tie the game, send it into extra time, and he missed the conversion, which, I mean, that does happen. But the bomb try against the Gold Coast, you can't excuse that. I mean, in the end, when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's cost his team the game because they only lost by 2 points. And the thing with North Queensland is I don't really know what's going on with them at the moment. They've still got a lot of good players in their squad, and they did show that when they are on and did wake up that they can score tries pretty quickly. So for this game, I can't tip South Sydney with how they play, and with the amount of injuries that they've got, I just can't tip them. So I'm going to go for North Queensland to win. However, if South Sydney manage to beat North Queensland, there's going to be some serious questions asked about Todd Payton and the North Queensland club, because they should really beat South Sydney on Saturday night. And the first match on the Sunday is between New Zealand and Penrith. Now, with this match, Penrith have a really good record against New Zealand in recent times. They've won 8 matches in a row against them and 9 of the last 10. The last time that New Zealand defeated Penrith were in round 10 of the 2019 NRL season. They beat them 30 points to 10. Now with this match coming into it, big news for Penrith with Nathan Cleary being ruled out for potentially 8 weeks with another hamstring complaint. But as we've seen in the past, they can manage without him. They can still win games without him. And New Zealand have their own injury blows. Sean Johnson won't be playing in this game from what I've read. He's been ruled out for a bit. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck as well has been ruled out with injury from what I've seen on the NRL injury list. So 2 massive names for New Zealand that won't be playing. And it comes at the worst possible time because Ever since that St George game, I don't know what's happened with New Zealand. They started the year really well. They were playing really well. It looked like it was going to be another good year for them, and it's slowly starting to slip away. They're not playing well at all. And as for Penrith, the machine just keeps ticking over. For this game, I can't tip New Zealand with the way that they're playing. I think Penrith will just run over the top of them in the end. I'll go for Penrith to win 13+ on Sunday. And the second match on the Sunday is between Melbourne and Parramatta. Now, in the last 10 meetings between these two sides, surprisingly, it's dead even, 5 wins apiece. And these two clubs have a bit of history at Suncorp Stadium in recent times. If we all remember back to 2019 Magic Round, Melbourne put on one of their biggest ever scores against an opponent. It was one of Parramatta's worst ever losses. They beat them 64 points to 10. Of course, I think the following year there was the finals match between the two clubs, which Melbourne won. And then in 2021, round 24 to be precise, Melbourne were going for, I believe, 18 wins in a row, which was going to be the NRL record, beating Eastern Suburbs record from the 1970s. They played against Parramatta, and Parramatta beat them 22 points to 10. Now with Melbourne, they come into this game having lost narrowly to Cronulla at Ely Park. Big game down there, and they just fell short. As for Parramatta, they had a disappointing loss against Brisbane. And the problem is for Parramatta, just like the game against Manly, it's all self-inflicted. It's just key errors at key moments by the same individuals within the team that Brad Arthur keeps trying to pick. The likes of Micah Sivo, Sean Lane, Ryan Mattison, Joey Lussick, those type of players. And the concerning thing is that the club lost by 16 points against Brisbane, where Brisbane themselves and their fans have come out and said, we won ugly. It wasn't one of our best performances, and yet they still comfortably won. And this week they play against a Melbourne team who rarely lose 2 matches in a row, and generally the team that they play after they've lost, they normally give a hiding to. So Parramatta, they just have to try to play their best. These two sides, it's a bit of a mismatch in terms of personnel and things like that. So I will go for Melbourne to win this game. If Parramatta's not careful, this could get really ugly. It could be like a 20 or 30 point margin. That's what I think will happen, because Melbourne have a really good record up at Suncorp Stadium. So yeah, I'll go for Melbourne to win comfortably. It's not a crisis at the moment with Parramatta, but certainly with some of the games coming up against South Sydney, if they don't win those, then definitely it's a club in crisis. And the final match to close out Magic Round is between West Tigers and Redcliffe. West's in 15th at the moment, Redcliffe in 4th place on the table. These two sides have played against each other only the 2 times. West Tigers won last year. This year, Redcliffe defeated West Tigers, so they're both even in that regard. With West Tigers, they come into this game having lost their last 6 matches in a row in the league. Now, why is nobody talking about it? Why is the media quiet on it? I don't know. Does Benji Marshall have friends in the media? Do people feel sorry for West Tigers? Do they expect them to lose games week in, week out? I don't know, but it seems that, you know, they've only picked up the 2 wins this year. They've lost 6 in a row, but nobody's talking about it. And there's people out there, apologists and all that, going, oh, Benji Marshall, he's building a good team. There's improvement there. They're playing a lot better. But at the end of the day, rugby league is a results-driven business. So you could lose every match for the year by 2 points, but at the end of the day, you've lost the game. This competition, it's all about winning. People don't really care if you're losing by 4 or 6 points here or there. You're there to win it. Now, from what I've seen with the injuries, it looks like John Bateman's going to be out for West Tigers, which could be a blessing in disguise, because I think a lot of supporters are a bit sick of him. And Starford Tour as well, it looks like he won't be playing. As for Redcliffe, it looks like potentially that Hamiso, I should say, Tabuai Fedor will be back for this game. Now, for this game, I'm going to go for Redcliffe to win. They've proven to be a good team this year. Even when they've had players out, they still managed to win. They've proven to be a tough opponent against nearly all the teams that they've played against. And I think West Tigers are going to find it really tough against Redcliffe, especially with it being at Suncorp Stadium where they played earlier this year. So I'm going to go for Redcliffe to win by 1 to 12 points. Could be 13 plus there on the Sunday. So those are my tips for round 11 of the 2024 NRL season. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comment section below who you're tipping. I'm always interested to know who everyone's tipping ahead of the next week. And thanks to everyone that watched my recent video in round 10. It was the third most watched NRL tipping video on YouTube. And unlike some other channels, the tipping videos will always remain free, and I won't ever expect people to pay money to watch me tipping videos or to pay extra to get insider knowledge or analysis or stats on games. This channel will remain 100% free. So anyways, this has been Rugby League History. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for supporting the channel, and I'll catch us all later in the next video. Alright, ta-ra for now.